Good morning, hello, and welcome back to the Evergreen RX. I'm your host, Hayden, licensed mental health therapist, Cancer Moon, and the first to get deep at any party. And I'm up and at 'em this morning. First thing, hitting record. So my brain's still turning on a bit, but it's a busy day, so I gotta get after it. I am alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic about recording for you guys today. I actually watched the Call Her Alex podcast last night about the host of Call Her Daddy. Most of you probably already know that. And it was really interesting, and it really kind of inspired me and revved me up about recording and talking to you guys, just reminding how much of a community can be built off of things like this, and how people that are like-minded can find each other or find friends, which I feel like is so important, especially now when like everyone is like, how do I meet anybody? Much less people that I really get along with or have a similar view of the world as I do or similar interests as I do. So that was really cool. And if any of you guys have watched it, let me know what you thought, because it seems relevant too to just women in general, women kind of pushing the envelope, doing something new. Just blazing a path forward and making it easier for everybody else that comes after them, like me. That's what's been on my mind lately. I also had a really nice weekend and got some good solo time as well that really had me, diving back into the journal. I have not done that in so long. I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, journaling is such a hot and cold thing. I think I'm going to commit to it, and then I drop it for like 6 months, and then I'm ready to get back into it. And I usually have like one feverish journaling session, and then I don't do it again for a long time. I think that's just kind of the nature of it sometimes. It used to bother me. It doesn't bother me so much anymore. I just kind of embrace the flow. But yesterday it was flowing, and I feel like I was really getting to articulate my thoughts about like presence and being present in my life and like really living my life on a deeper level. And I definitely feel like a future episode is percolating on that topic. So if you want to hear more about that, let me know, because I'll definitely make an episode about it. But yeah, it was exciting. It felt like some epiphanies or breakthroughs on presence and being able to enjoy the day-to-day moments of life, which I'm always in pursuit of that, because that's what life is made of, and time will pass us by without us really realizing if we're not conscious of it, and then our whole life can pass us by and we're like, wait, where did it all go? So yeah, that's what's been on my mind lately in terms of my own growth and development. I actually have therapy after recording this, and I'm ready to talk her ear off. I feel like every time I have therapy every other week, and I'm like, how much can happen in 2 weeks? Because it feels like a lot. That's what's on my mind. What's on y'all's mind? What's the collective conscious thinking about right now? What are we pondering? How are we growing and expanding? It's Cancer season, and a lot of astrological, like, important planets are in Cancer during this time. So we're all swimming in this emotional, introspective, maybe more homebody type of realm, which serves me really well because that's my constitution. But curious what's coming up for you guys. But anyway, we have a wonderful listener question today that I'm super excited to get into. I think I say that every time, but it's just true. This one, I don't know, I guess I could say it hits close to home. I don't know if it's any more than normal, but I don't know, maybe, because it's about vulnerability and opening ourselves up in relationships and to new friends, and that's something that was definitely a big theme and aspect of my growth for a long time, like through college and through like the beginning of grad school and post-grad, and so it's definitely something that's I've spent a lot of time thinking about. If any of you guys are new here and you're not familiar, I do answer listener questions most weeks on the podcast. So if you want to ask me a question to have answered on a future episode, please send me a text or give me a call at 512-655-9888, or you can email me at theevergreenrx@gmail.com. I would love to answer your question, hear what you guys want from me, what topics I haven't covered. But yeah, the whole intention is to start the conversation, add my 2 cents to the conversation, but then open it up to you guys so that we can really learn from each other and, learn in a way that ideally incorporates some nuance, some gray area to these questions of mental health and wellness and well-being, things that sometimes can become really black and white, but obviously in practice, in real life, we all know it's really not so black and white. And I think this is my own personal manifesto, or my own exploration of being a little bit more nuanced as someone that, deals with anxiety and can tend to have a little bit more restrictive or rigid thinking about things that scare me or challenge me. And so this is an exercise in being able to be a little bit more flexible. But anyway, all that aside, let's welcome our dear listener, our dear question asker, into the apothecary and hear their question. Okay, so it says, Dear Evergreen, lately I've been struggling with this fear that no one really gets me. I'll open up and try to be vulnerable, or even just share something I'm excited about, and I'm met with blank stares, topic changes, and people making assumptions that feel off. It makes me want to over-explain myself just to be understood, but constantly trying to manage how I come across is exhausting, and it's starting to make me question if I'm just too much or too different. How do I stop needing everyone to understand me in order to feel okay? Yeah, the desire to feel understood is so strong and so central. I mean, for all of us, most of us. What I first really hear through this question that I want to acknowledge how courageous it is the desire for connection that's at the heart of all of this. Wanting to share, wanting to be understood, wanting to feel in connection with others over the things that matter to you, and going after it despite the fact that it scares you, or that there has been times where you've felt rejected or misunderstood or exhausted by attempting to connect with others. And I just think it's really brave and wonderful to go after what you want, even when it's been fraught with difficulty in the past. I love that people, all of us, seem so wired to do this, to go after love, to go after new relationships, even when we've all been burned before. I was reading a book the other day called Less, and there was some quote in it that I'm not going to get right, but it was basically about the fact that, why do things get more mundane with age? Maybe something that used to be exciting grows to be more normal or just old hat as we get older, except for heartbreak. Heartbreak never seems to lose its sting. And I really do think that speaks to our desire to love and to love again, even when we've been heartbroken, even when we've been burned, and the power that love holds, that it can be, your first or your 50th heartbreak, and there's still this sting to it that never really gets old and never really stops. And how amazing that even though that happens, we continue to put ourselves out there and to love again. I think that's really cool. And so I just want to acknowledge that in this question. And for any of you guys out there listening that can relate, I can relate to this myself. And I feel like I would recognize, once I got a little bit older and a little bit more kind to myself, I could really recognize how brave it was that I was doing by stepping out into the world, putting myself out there again and again and again, even when it felt like what I wanted maybe was too much or wasn't even possible. Giving myself the the effort, showing up for myself and giving myself the chance to see whether or not it really was possible. And luckily finding out that it actually is, and it didn't mean that I was too much or wanting something that other people couldn't give me. So yeah, that does bring me to just addressing the meat of this, which is, questioning yourself, feeling like you maybe are just too much. I want to say you're not too much, you're not too different. I can say that with full confidence, not even knowing you or knowing whoever is listening. I don't have to know you to know that you're not too much or you're not too different, because we're built the way that we are built. It's just not possible for that to be the answer to all your problems and just mean that you have to sink back into isolation or being a recluse or being alone. I just know that for a fact. And it brings up some questions for me, like some follow-ups to be like, are you with the right people? Are you seeking a level of depth that these people aren't capable of? Are you able to take in feedback? There's multiple sides to look at this from. Evaluating the candidates in a sense that you're choosing, and maybe what your expectations are and what they're capable of giving, or what their expectations or desires are for relationships, because those can always be different. Some people view friendship as much more of a casual, like I just want somebody to go to the movies with and to like go out to the bars on a Friday night, and I'm not really looking to have a super deep connection or conversation. Okay, that's fine. And then others of us are looking for something a lot more deep, looking for more of that familial, like blood level connection of like, you get me, I get you, we have each other's backs no matter what. And like, I'm the person that you can call and you can lean on when, all hell's breaking loose, or you need someone to cry with or to grieve with, and that's a spectrum. There's a spectrum, and it's, again, it's not black and white. Like, we can have friendships that are both, that are all, that are, a mix of things, and that ebb and flow depending on the stage of life that we're in. But understanding, like, some people are falling more on one side of the spectrum than the other. And so are you seeking kind of the type of connection with someone and choosing the right individual for the job? And this doesn't mean that there's any judgment on someone that maybe is not capable of that level of depth. It just saves you and them a lot of time to kind of know that, or to have that question in the back of your mind when maybe you're feeling misunderstood, or like there isn't something quite aligning when you're trying to talk to this person. Because not everybody is also capable of a certain level of depth. And I don't mean that like in a judgmental way. Capable sounds kind of like harsh, but really, again, it's just personal preference and life experience and like the stage of life that they're in, that, I can experience this with like clients. Like, some clients are getting into therapy and they're being like, take me to the bottom of the pool. Like, let's dive down. Let's figure it out. I want to know the depths of myself and be able to experience the depths of other people. And then there's other people that are like, okay, what, mindfulness tool can I use to help when I get a little bit like nervous before public speaking? I don't know. These are probably bad examples, but I think you get the point. We're just all at different stages, and you don't want to be like kind of knocking up against people's walls continually, because it's going to be exhausting for you. It might feel kind of overbearing or intrusive for them, which can then kind of lead to you feeling like you're too much, because you might get pushback or defensiveness from someone else that's just not ready or doesn't want to go there. And that can really make us feel bad or feel like we're doing something wrong, when it might just be like an interpersonal mismatch. And then, are you able to take in feedback? Because this is the part where we can reflect on ourselves and say, okay, like, is there, a communication error that's happening here? Am I not honoring people's boundaries? Someone giving me feedback, or have multiple people given me feedback that is similar about something that I do that's a little bit overbearing or uncomfortable, that can happen. And again, the same way we don't want to judge them, you want to afford yourself the same kindness. That this doesn't mean that you're fundamentally flawed or too intense for other people. It's a mix. Maybe there's wounded parts of us that really want to pull close to people and want to be around them all the time, and have a little bit of that anxiety that makes us kind of grab and grasp at someone, which can be intense. And so we can work on that. We can heal that part that's like wanting to grab at someone, while also understanding and acknowledging that we're going to want deep connection, and that's okay. So it's both. And yeah, so along those same lines, like if there is a part of us that is grasping or feels a high level of anxiety, or, maybe starts getting revved up and over explaining, or feeling judged, feeling like people are making assumptions about us, which really starts to get us out of whack, that can cause our discernment to be a little bit off. When we're in fight or flight in that way, it can be hard for us to determine who actually is right. Like in regards to those first two questions I was asking, like, are these the right people? Our discernment can get thrown off when we're feeling panicky and not so stable. And when we get a little bit activated through vulnerability due to like past trauma or like a nervous system reaction that we're having, it'll be hard to figure out the people that really do feel good to us. And again, to be discerning about who we share with, because if the idea is like, I need everyone to understand me, and then I'm kind of projecting that onto people, and I'm not being discerning about who I open up to, then we're perpetuating like our cycle of trauma, our wounds, because maybe we are choosing kind of bad candidates, and then we're feeling rejected, we're feeling misunderstood, and then that goes to perpetuate the stories we have about ourselves. And then through that panic and anxiety about those stories, we again try with maybe bad candidates, and then it's this looping system of like kind of putting ourselves in harm's way in a sense. And so what we can do in this case is we can work to feel a deeper sense of calm around friends. This was a big thing for me. I talked about this in an episode way back. I think it's number 6 about friend breakups. I had a really difficult friend breakup with my best friend in middle school, Haley, who I can talk about now because we're actually friends again, and I love her dearly, and it's been a really wonderful full circle thing. But yeah, she basically had just ended our friendship cold turkey. At the time, I had no clue. I did not understand why that had happened. I took it very personally. I really questioned what I maybe did wrong or what was wrong with me. And it created this wound. And yeah, this nervous system patterning around friends where I was really on edge and keyed up after that. Not to mention it was followed by other instances in high school and things that kind of repeated that pain, and then really created this intense anxiety and nervous energy around going and hanging out with friends. And it's wild to think about now because I don't have any of that anymore. But I had to do a lot of work on helping calm myself down when I was going to see people or when I was hanging out with people, like being able to reach and maintain a deeper felt sense of calm so that I could actually enjoy myself and figure out whether I was having a good time or not, whether I liked someone or not, because I wasn't so focused on my own experience. I could actually pay attention to how well we got along and what level of depth they were looking for, and if we had things in common, and if I felt understood by them or felt seen or validated by them. I was able to have clearer eyes. Because another thing is that when we have assumptions or expectations, it can lead us to misread our friends or project our fears onto them, which can muddy the waters again, because I was projecting a lot of my fears of rejection onto people like in college, and it wasn't helping me have a clear picture of what was right for me, and to even feel confident enough and secure enough in myself to be able to like say yes or no to certain relationships. So what I would say is like, when you're working on all of this, and this is simultaneous, like this person asking like, how do I stop needing everyone to understand me in order to feel okay? You're going to be working on your own relationship and how you're showing up and your discernment of others simultaneously. And so, it's a work in progress. I say give it a couple college tries with someone before moving on. Maybe it feels like, damn, they're not getting me again, and like no one's ever going to understand me. But knowing that there can be some of your own projections or fears that are showing up, like give it a couple of tries. I realized lately that I was really paying attention to the wrong things. This was particular for me in my work, but I think it applies here, that I was really paying attention to the wrong things. I was looking at everything that was going wrong or that I felt I could do better, and I was very quickly dismissing what was going right, which like duh, okay, we know this. Sometimes it's harder to take in like the good things, the compliments, but I think it just kind of clicked in for me that there was a mindfulness component that was being missed, like looking at what is right in front of you as much as you can. Like when you're reaching out to a friend or you're sharing something with them and it's feeling sensitive, it's feeling a little bit vulnerable, and you're really keyed up to what their reaction is going to be, maybe there's some things that you're missing because the conversation doesn't go exactly how you want it to, but maybe it was closer. Maybe it wasn't everything, but it was closer to what you want. Or someone was kind of reaching out to connect or to understand you and you missed it. What is it like when you try on that perspective and you look for all of the ways that someone might be trying to connect with you? I hear in the question, like, you're noticing the blank stares and the topic changes, or maybe it's feeling like people are making assumptions about you. But if we flip it around, and if it was a quiz on all of the things that maybe felt good or felt a little bit better or more supportive to you, can you notice those too? And maybe there's more than you originally thought. Maybe someone was getting you a little bit more than you were giving it credit for. My lovely dear listeners, I do think that there is a bit of exposure therapy to be had here. Maybe I just think that because that's what I did with myself, but really, there is exposure therapy to being vulnerable and seeing that you can survive it, to someone misunderstanding you and seeing that it's okay. It's not the end of the world, to even being rejected and knowing you can handle it. Nothing makes us as strong as quickly as facing our fears, maybe having some of the things we fear come true, and seeing it either isn't as bad as we thought or we could handle it and we could show up. That I think really helps give a felt sense of how strong you really are and how resilient you are. And we can't manage how other people are going to receive us or perceive us or the assumptions that they're going to make about us. Man, I have learned this through doing the podcast, because I used to really feel, and I mean, I sometimes still do feel, that knowing other people can interpret me in whatever way that they want, knowing that they can make whatever assumptions that they want about me, even the people I'm close with, it made me feel very uncomfortable and even felt kind of intrusive. But I realized that my spirit and my energy is mine alone, that it cannot be taken from me. And if any of you guys have not listened to my episode with Izzy Swanson, the Reiki master, where we talk about energy and protecting your energy, I highly recommend it if you feel the same way that I feel, that sometimes people can like latch onto you, or there's this feeling that when you share and it doesn't go well, or it's not received in the way that you would want, that something has kind of been taken from you. I would really recommend listening, because I understand now that I have to guard and protect and understand that my energy is sacred and it is mine, and I can keep it inside my body while still being in connection and opening up to other people. And that no matter what people think of me, I can connect to my core and know what is true about me and know who I am, and that no one can take that from me. So that really helped me relax on over explaining or needing to convince other people who I am. And I've also learned that the people that really get me without me needing to say a word. I have met friends where within 2 times of hanging out, like, they say some really profoundly true statement about me. And I'm like, how do you know that? How have you already clocked that? But that's how it goes. We clock people when we really connect with them, when there's something really there. It's why we like certain people more than others. There's something that we can pick up on without it even needing to be said. Really good reminder that we don't have to work so hard for the people that are going to really get us to get us. They probably just already do from the jump. And lastly, I'll say that I think that there's a deep part in us that no one can truly understand but ourselves. And this cannot be taken or defined by the outside world. And so when you're constantly trying to manage and trying to get across who you think you really are, remember that there's a seed in you that only you can even really understand. And I don't think we can ever fully be understood by others. And there's something kind of freeing in that. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts, as much as I can put them all into words right now. I prepare for these episodes. I write out kind of bullet points and what I want to say. And when I get into it, sometimes I realize that there's so much more, or that I'm just at the beginning of being able to put everything into words. And this is one of those topics. I do think because it hits close to home, and I can simultaneously reflect on where I used to be and then where I am now and how much I've grown and changed since then. But it's difficult to fully articulate to what I feel like are such big topics. And so I hope I did this justice. If something really helped you, that you want to share with me, please let me know. Or if there's something that you have learned that I didn't mention that you find to be really beneficial, tell me so that I can share it, with everybody else listening. And yeah, I would love to hear from you and see you over on Instagram and TikTok in the meantime. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for sharing it with anybody that you think would benefit from being a part of our community. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will catch you next Wednesday. Bye.